Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This and peace out to the rest of you. You know who it ain't and who it is. It ain't your boy, it's your man, the blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media, signing black and shining again. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So, you know why your screen is dark right now. By the way, it's not just a black screen. I'm actually recording this with the lights out and I'm naked. That's what it is. I'm just joking. Don't believe that. That's actually an inside joke for one of my audience members. So, looking at the title, you know what this is. This is not me misspelling Mai. No, this is me talking about Jeannie Mai's lesson to us. She did the interview when I saw it. Listening to the interview, I want to say this. She got her mother to open up. Well, I shouldn't say she got, but her mother agreed to open up about what she had done wrong and ruined the first marriage. And there were several lessons in that. See, Jeannie Mai did not only teach a lesson to Mother Mai. Jeannie Mai was she didn't just learn a lesson from Mother Mai. She was teaching Mother Mai a lesson too. And Mother Mai and Jeannie both were teaching us lessons. Number one, this is the most important. Niggas, would you please stop saying that every other community is together and got their stuff on point? They don't. She had father-daddy issues and took them out on her husband and then took them out on her babies. That's some sugarnit. Now, this nigga business is not black nigga business because they ain't black. Not that we know of, not that even they know of. That's not it. This was trifling nigga business. She married as an escape. She got away from her parents. She had all this mouth on her, and she pushed her first husband away. Pushed him the F away. Then when he tried to get back with her, she said no because of where he was sitting when he asked her. Mind you, he was trying to get back with her. That means they ain't back together now. Boundaries, remember? Boundaries. Because see, at this point, I know they were in the United States when they had this conversation. I know that. And in the U.S., he had to know at this point, no means no. Maybe means no. Everything except hell yeah, get your ass over here and pull your pants down means no. He had to have known that. So what do? You respect the boundaries. She did not want him to sit closer so that she could say, I feel close to you now, let's get back together. She wanted him to sit closer so that he would put himself in a vulnerable position and then she could say, who the hell told you to sit this close to me anyway? Respect my boundaries. She wanted to ego trip. She didn't say that part. But she did admit overall that she fucked that first marriage. Now, we can talk about Jeannie and what she said a few years ago, and I do think that's a problem. I suspect that she's actually changed, but I realize it's just my suspicion. I think she has. I don't have proof that she's really changed her views since then, but I got evidence of my own. I don't have proof I could show you. I've got evidence I've seen and experienced in my own life. I changed in my early 40s. What I would tolerate from a black non-Western woman, I will not tolerate from a black Western woman. Absolutely not. Will not do it. But see, by the same token, when I was doing my live stream less than an hour ago, I was getting ready to go to a breakfast that I expected us to go out for breakfast as we had previously said. So I was going to wrap it up. You know what? Shortly after I mentioned that, she walked in as I was doing the live stream, quietly, did not interrupt. You all didn't hear her, and you didn't know she was there till I said to somebody, thank you. She handed me a plate of breakfast. She didn't say, nigga, you up here on this and we supposed to be going over there shortly. She didn't do that. She handed me a plate of it. I didn't expect that. So there's the reason that I can overlook some things I would never look from a Western sister, because see, there are things she will do that a Western sister would not do, especially for a man my shade. And yes, I keep bringing it back to that because I was told in so many words. It's not a crutch that I'm using. It's not that. That's not why I'm mentioning this. I'm simply mentioning this to teach you all a lesson. So when I learned that I can actually afford to overlook certain things in the non-Western ones because of what other things I would get from them that I wouldn't get from a Western one, because of the exchange that is involved, then things opened up. So, well, that's a long story. The point is there were certain changes I had to go through, and it's the same thing with her. She probably realized, okay, I know what I want, what I don't want, and I can make these changes to get it. She wasn't going to submit to that white dude. But with Jeezy, she's going to submit. But on the other hand, she can't spit out no babies. Too late for that. That ship has sailed. She don't want to anyway. I don't blame her. This world is a very up-fuck place to live in. I still feel I owe my children an apology for conceiving them. But I knew this in advance. And that's one reason why I told my son's mother. One thing I told my son's mother when she said that she was expecting was, you and I do not want to raise a child in the United States. We know that. This was back in 2000. We had that conversation. But later on, anyway, moving forward up until now, Jeannie Mai and Mama Mai were teaching each other lessons and teaching us. That's important. First lesson is other people don't have all their stuff together. They're Vietnamese. Vietnamese, with regards to how they feel about black people, could go either way, but there's no overarching hatred towards us. They're actually, as a majority, they're actually more accepting and friendlier towards us than Arabs would be, and Arabs have our blood. They're related to us closely. And yes, part of it does have to do with sexual access. We can marry and have babies with them, and Arabs want to make that kind of thing difficult because Arabs want to become as light as possible. That is a problem, but it's up to them. I'm simply saying we get along better with Vietnamese oftentimes than even we do with Arabs. Because Vietnamese know they're not perfect. Nobody is. They understand that. They know that there's dysfunction and that the dysfunction is within every family. They know that. So they don't look at us and say, oh, these niggas are so dysfunctional. Paul Ning, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, was out there confronting two black YouTubers saying this is a no nigga zone and I am a racist. And they said to him, look, you don't have to like us. I admire the way the brother said it. You ain't got to like us. Just don't bother us. We're going to film and you ain't going to do a damn thing about it. If you leave us alone, things is okay. But if you touch us, we're going to dust you up. And I think the only way he could have handled that better is if he had actually said the opposite, which is instead of saying if you do X, Y, and Z, we going to uck you up, he could have said, you know, we're going to do this, you ain't going to do nothing about it. And if you don't interfere, then we're not going to bother you. We just don't like each other. That's fine. Only if you interfere are we going to have trouble. And it's going to be your trouble, not mine. If you leave us be, you'll have nothing to worry about. Now, he could have said it in that way, and that would have been classy, but you know what? He wasn't required to, because they came and confronted him. Paul came and confronted them. So their community, Vietnamese, can go either way. The Thai, the Mongolian, the Cambodians, the Laotians, they're generally okay with us. Any of us that treat them well, they fine with us, for the most part. Malaysians and Indonesians, Bruneians, and Filipinos, they're cool with us. They fine. And the ones that love us most, ironically, are the Muslim Filipinos, from what I've seen. I remember being inside of an Italian restaurant here in the Gulf. I know, right? Being in one here, and one worked at a smoothie store next door. He just happened to come up into the Italian restaurant because his boys were working in the Italian restaurant. The owner of the Italian restaurant liked to hire people from the Philippines, but specifically from the South. That's where he would hire them from. He looked for Muslim Filipinos to come in and do the job. And I think he owned the smoothie store next door as well. So when I was going into it, Filipino guy was coming out. And we passed each other by, so I just gave the head nod, Assalamu alaikum, and kept on going. And he said, wa alaikum salam. When I got up to place the order, he had doubled around and come back up, and I felt something tap on my shoulder. When I looked, he looked in my face. He said, MashaAllah. He shook my hand again and then leaned over and gave the shoulder hug. And he said, you're Muslim, aren't you? And I said, yeah, I just said Assalamu alaikum to you. And then I realized why he was looking. He was looking at my beard, or with as much of a beard as I could grow. And he said, did you become Muslim or were you born to Muslim parents? He was interested in my conversion story. That's a long talk for another day, but the point I'm making is that we get love in that part of the world. And then some people don't like us either. But we have to understand that these other folks don't have all their stuff together. We got to realize that. It's just that their friendliness towards us or their empathy towards us can cause them on the basis of nationality to be rejected by others of their same race but different nationalities and cultures. That's what we have to understand. That's all. Ain't nobody respecting Indonesians. I mean, outside of us. In terms of other Asians, they're not doing that. See, the Chinese and the Koreans, not even so much the Japanese, but the Chinese and the Koreans are looking at these other nationalities, and they're saying they're poor, they're darker, and they're a little bit too friendly with these Negroes. But nobody has all their stuff together. Nobody in that part of the world does. We think they do. They don't. We look at them like they're some race of super people, and they're not. Like they never have any dysfunction, and yet they do. You saw that when she interviewed her mother. Her mother was coming from a place of pure dysfunction. But you also saw something else. You saw that her mother was willing to sit up and say, this is where I screwed up. Now, her mom didn't say everything that needed to be said. Like when she said, if I lose your Uncle Ted, he ain't gonna have nobody. No, we ain't gonna have nobody. That means he may not, you will not. Look how old you are, Mrs. Mai. You drove your first husband. When he loved you, you drove your first husband away. You sit up talking all this junk, talking all this smack, because you just got to have all this mouth. That's probably why you were ready to go to the States in the first doggone place. But you lost your husband. You lost him. But one of the things you don't see is you don't see Miss Mai get on Jeannie Mai because she's getting with a brother. That's what you don't see. You don't see Jeannie Mai's father tripping because she's getting with a brother. And some people say, well, you know, y'all just black men are just making it easy for her because she's not black. No. It's because whatever dysfunction she brought to that white man. And she's decided to confront it and purge herself of it before she walks down the aisle to the altar with the black man. That's why. This is not a case where the brother's getting the leftovers from the white dude. That is not the case. Now, if Jeezy was a virgin, maybe so. I could say that. But obviously, he's not with them kids he got. So let's, to be fair, no, he's not getting some white dude sloppy seconds. That's not what's going on. She said those things she shouldn't have said about black men years ago. He has every right to take her to task for that. He does have, but by the same token, he's going to be the one nutting in that cervix. And she's saying, I'm going to submit, I'm going to do to him. She's pretty much getting up and actually insulting that white dude to a certain extent. If I was him, I'd be pissed. I'd be insulted. Even if I wasn't pissed, I would still know that I've been insulted. If I was a white cap, I'd have been like, so you can't submit to me, at least when I say, look, we're going to, have a family. You can't do that. And you bounce, which is your right. But then you're going to sit up and say, okay, I'm actually going to submit to him. So you're going to tell the world you didn't submit to me, but you're going to submit to him. After all this conquering my ancestors did to bring his ancestors in chains over here, and make them build the country such that your parents decided to come to this country, you're going to turn around now and tell the world that you're going to, for the first time, submit to him and not me. Hell, that's why we divorced. And don't get it twisted. There are many white men, they don't follow her, but the ones who at least know the situation, they're ticked off. They are angry about this. They are quite angry. But this is not a situation which a lot of feminists are saying wherein he's taking the sloppy seconds. Now, I thought about it. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But I've come to the conclusion that since Jeezy himself done got around, probably even more than Jeannie Mai did, he's not taking sloppy seconds per se any more than he is the sloppy seconds. He's not, bringing his sexual purity into the equation while she's coming in dripping with other men's DNA. That's not the situation. That's not the case. And if she was actually just out there screwing everybody like that, we would have heard something. We may not have known who it was, but we would have heard about her being some kind of freak or something. Word would have got around. At least some celebrities that tapped that would have been like, yeah, we did it. Yeah, I'm married. Yeah, she was married to him, but I was digging her out. Somebody would have. It's kind of like with Robin Givens. See, we know Robin Givens was cheating with Brad Pitt because Mike Tyson was the one that said she was cheating on me with Brad Pitt before he was even anybody. So she was known. She was famous. She had it. She was on top. Brad Pitt was this, C-list or B-list actor, not even known about. And she was cheating on Mike Tyson with Brad Pitt. And Mike was the one that said it. This ain't a similar situation. But what we are learning is this. We're also learning that we have every right to not really say a whole lot if we choose not to. When sisters start saying, why come she can be that age and get someone like Jeezy with all that money, but I can't be older than 25? Well, number one, she's picking a guy that's already got the kids she's not trying to have. That's the first thing. Number two, she said, I want to submit. 3, she's pretty much saying, my mother did not. So she didn't learn submission modeled in front of her, but she's still going to take it up. Whereas when sisters talk about their mother and their father, they don't sit up and say, well, I need to unlearn this. Generally speaking, there are those who do, but they're silenced and called pick-me's. Most of them say exactly what they're socially allowed by the sisterhood to say, which is my mama and my daddy, and that was good enough for me. And I can't do it. I never saw my mama do it. And my mama did this, that, and the other. My mama was superwoman. What about your dad? If they'll even admit that he was there. See, my friend's wife's parents are going through a divorce. Mom always made more money, and therefore she called shots. But she just completely lost respect for the husband, and now that her granddaughters are darn near grown, my friend's oldest daughters are darn near grown, she's decided, I'm going to leave this man. And they Muslim, but they African-American Muslims. I'm not going to sit up and say that he should have been on his grind and not thought about marriage before that, because, you're not guaranteed to make money. You're going to be young, but you're not going to make money. Most people are going to be young, but they're not going to make money. Most people, men or women, around the world, period, in general. He just should have married somebody else. And if he was going to marry someone that made more than him, because in America it's set up that way anyway, what he should have done is he should have married somebody that was just not from this nigger culture we got. Whether he married an upper-class sister or whether he just married a more church-based, well, in this case, masjid-based, whatever the case was, he should not have married her. That's what he should not have done. But A lot of women my own mother's age and her age are looking at their husbands and they're old and they're saying, nah, I'm going to leave them. I'm just gone. I'm just bye. Okay. All right. He's not going to be the one to have to pay alimony. He's going to be able to replace her. And I actually want to tell my friend, tell your father-in-law that Southeast Asia is good for us. He could actually start over. Tell him. And it is even better for us than many parts of the continent based on at least what we can see, because from what we're able to see and what we're able to make out on the continent, things are changing and they're not changing for the better. You can listen to Joe Anita on O'Shea Duke Jackson's Ken Gonda channel. And the lesson that we're learning really from the Mai's is that the way to win is to actually be visually attractive and act the way that you look. To act just as beautiful on the inside as you may look on the outside. The way to win is that, and that's exactly what sisters think is losing. That is exactly what American sisters are telling each other is giving up, throwing in the towel, letting the men win, because they want you to look this way and act just as good as you look. Why should you? If you look even halfway decent, you should have an attitude problem they can't deal with. Always interrupting, cutting them off, arguing, and maybe even slapping them every so often. Just to show him that he don't run nothing. And then when they succeed in showing him he don't run nothing, then they lose respect for him. The way to win is not to sit up and crap test a man to the point that you make him what you don't want and then leave him for becoming that, because you weren't going to stop until you turned him into that anyway. But the way to win is to actually, you know what, push away them extra servings of food when you're full. Get out there and do some walking. Stay in shape. What you think Jeannie Mai got a big old booty? You think she got that big old strip of booty? You think she got that? I doubt it. I've never seen her stand up, and I don't care to, but I doubt she's got that. But she still obviously takes care of herself. And then she says, I'm willing to submit. And that doesn't necessarily mean let him oppress her. Of course it doesn't mean that. Men in a manosphere with me would not go along with something like that. It means he calls the shots, because you know what? He has to pay the cost. He better be the boss. That's really what that means. That's what Jeannie Mai is teaching us, but more importantly than that, she's the litmus test. The acid that she is litmus testing inadvertently is what's really showing us everything we need to know. All them head rolling sisters on that panel with her, they were the ones that really explained it. Why they're losing. Because they're pretty much sitting up and they're looking at black men and they're saying good deals, decent deals are too good for these nigger men. Unless, of course, they're like the 13% that we just all want to pull our panties down for and let them, bust a nut raw. Hell, we don't even ask him to do any foreplay. But, outside of that 13 and maybe even now be 7% according to some studies. Instead, outside of that, no. These regular, normal, run-of-the-mill black men, even Jeezy, that's too good of a deal for them. You don't know. No. They're pretty much looking and saying, even for Jeezy, okay, you look the way you do, that's fine. But you're going to sit up and submit. You're going to actually sweeten the deal even more for him? Girl, why? Now he just got it too good. He got this exotico who ain't got no nappy hair. And he just going to be having all the fun when he's at home alone with you. And then you're going to actually consider making him a sandwich or doing what he says and not fight him on every decision y'all got to make together? Girl, please. That's too good even for him. That's what it really is. That's the Mai lesson to us. The proof that what we've been saying the whole time in this sphere is correct. That they are insistent upon running us the F off because we're right and they're wrong. That they have pretty much set this up to where any reasonable man would run the hell off, but they only did that after they have trained us from childhood. Sometimes coming from our own mothers, trained us from childhood to believe that this is the only option available for us, and that every other woman on the planet is going to be even worse. When in fact, no, that's not the case. They could be. Jeannie Mai could have taken on her mother's dysfunction, so there was that possibility, but there is no guarantee that they're going to be better. Likewise, there's no guarantee they're going to be worse. I admit that even for the Western European white woman, there's not a guarantee she's going to be as bad as Sistas. I just know there's a high likelihood of it because they're the ones from whom Sapphire, Boom Chic, and Bonquisha learned this mess. Karen, Becky, and Amber taught those three. They're the ones that trained Sapphire and Boom Chic and Bonquisha. So that's why I say it's a very high likelihood, but there's no guarantee either way, really. Marisol and Maria? No. Probably not. I mean, they say, oh, yeah, they got that spicy attitude and it's as sexy as all get out. I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, when it's not a life or death decision, yeah, sure. I guess it is kind of funny sometimes. But, what do you have to do to get that spicy attitude if that's what you need? What, make a decision and say this is what we're going to do because this is what I can afford and this will allow both you and me to save, and that's when they get a spicy attitude? No, not necessarily. That's not what people are reporting to me. I've never been with them, but what people have been telling me and telling others within earshot of me is that, no, you got to irritate them somehow. Like you got to be staring at some other lady. That's what you got to do. Or maybe you got to reach over and take some food off her plate. As a joke, things like that. But no, you're not just going to get that out the blue for nothing. Whereas with a sister, the ones who would not give you this attitude, they're taken, and if they are single and they show you that they would not so as to get you to notice them, then they're called pick-me's and pick-meishes and they're silenced. That's not what happened in her case. See, when she said this, best believe, it was not her own community that went in and questioned this. And she knows sisters can't keep nobody, and that's why she didn't trip. They were asking questions, but she wasn't wavering in her response because she knows. She told them what it didn't mean, and that's all she needed to do. After that, she was like, look, this is not what's going to happen. That's not what I mean. But outside that, I'm still proceeding as planned. I'm on the same track. And why I'm on the same track? Because it's when it works. I saw my mother fail and drive my father away, doing what you B words are sitting up here promoting right now. And that's not what I want. She don't want to be a 2-time divorcee. Sisters brag about that stuff. That's the truth. That's exactly why it is. We will not be a distinct group of people within the West after 2 generations. I would bet that within 2 generations, our kids, there's absolutely no way that there will be any who would even be so much as 75% or more African in their origins. I just don't think that would happen. I wish, but I don't think so. It can't. And again, that's another thing she proved. Really, another thing that the panel proved, for which she was a litmus test. Thing I've been saying for the longest. We did not drive them away. She, not Jeannie Mai either. But they Bonshika, Bonquisha, and Sapphire drove us away. And when we ain't around in an unmixed form, so to speak, anymore, or, completely distinct from every other group of people visually, when that's not available anymore, it ain't going to be because of brothers. It ain't going to be because we didn't like 4C hair and wide noses and big lips and dark skin and big old wide booties. Maybe some high school guys, yeah, but that ain't going to be the case for the grown men that are actually out here, digging women out. That ain't going to be the case. It's going to be because of the attitude. And I'm going to say one last thing before I go about that. Just about that. Some are going to say, well, you said that the grown men were different from the high school guys, because in high school you will hear some of them saying, I want them long skinned, I want them light skinned with long pretty hair, and I like that mixed exotic look, and it just looks better. In high school you might hear that. That's true. I'm just basing it on what I heard sometimes when I was growing up. You're going to hear sisters say this, and some of them going to ask me that if they get a chance to hear this and decide to argue with me. They're going to want to know. They're going to say, well, don't you think that when these men in high school say these things, that leaves a negative impression on these sisters? And that's where some of this attitude y'all got to deal with as adults comes from. And I would say to that may be the case. You can tell me how lasting an effect that's going to have on a woman's psyche and mind. But what I can tell you is that means that the reverse is also valid. If this is okay as an excuse for why we got to deal with all these walls and defenses and attitude and mouth when we get older and we ain't colorist no more, then that means that it is perfectly okay for me to decide, okay, well, I'm still traumatized by what I faced at a young age, and I wasn't even told the truth about it. So it's okay for me to have all these walls and defenses up for a sister to climb. It either works both ways or it doesn't work at all. One for one or none for none. Now, doggone well they're not going to give men a license to still feel traumatized by anything that happened to them before they graduated high school. That's not allowed. Doesn't matter what was done at all. It don't matter if his mom and aunt and grandma beat him up and then spoiled his sister right in front of him and told him it's because you're a little nappy head nigga that you don't get what she gets. It don't even matter if that's the case. That trauma is not going to be an excuse for him to, of course it's not an excuse for him to go and hurt other folks, but that wouldn't even be considered an excuse for him to just have walls and defenses up and not turn around and take all of his hard-earned resources and spend it on not even just a sister, but specifically a bad attitude, loudmouth, neck-rolling, finger-snapping, head-wagging Boomshika or Bonquisha. That's really what bothers them. Because when they act this way, they know they are. They know they're the bad option, and they can't stand anybody for being a better option. And which is exactly what they would not tolerate if we normal men were to hate on so-called select men for being select. They wouldn't tolerate that from us. They would say, well, you just hating on them because they select and you not. Oh, okay, well, see, now you just hating on Jeannie Mai because she's offering a better deal that you've been told you just can't offer. And you can't bring yourself to offer. And you just got to have all this attitude in the world to stop from offering. And all you can say is, he don't like, and we don't like black women. In actuality, you pretty much have shown that what it is you're driving brothers away. And now she's showing that you're driving them away. Because look who she got. I mean, I wouldn't marry the guy, obviously. He ain't my type, obviously. But for obvious reasons, too. And there's not something wrong with him, but you get the idea. But, according to your own standards, sisters, look who she got. Then look who y'all with or ain't with. Lonnie Love got exactly what y'all asses don't want. And the others are previously married and divorced. And I'm not going to sit up here and say, oh, well, they're divorced because of it just didn't work out. I mean, hell, I am too. I'm not going to say that for them. No, I'm not going to extend that same courtesy. Not going to do it. You know why? Because not a single solitary one of them, based on their looks alone, would extend that courtesy to a black man. Absolutely not. This is just part of what I was talking about earlier in my live stream, projection. They do all the driving away. And then when you gone, it's you couldn't handle it. You couldn't deal with it. You soft. You weak. You ain't no real man. Of course not. Not in this relationship, because your ass was two real men. You acted like you had beard muscles and a mustache. So, sisters, you need to do exactly what Jeannie Mai is doing. Work out, stay in shape, eat right. Bring exactly that combination that you think no man deserves to the game. That's what you need to do. Take any two things you just can't stand to do both, but they're not really mutually exclusive. Put them two together. I know, you were told not to do that. You've been trained not to do that. It's not a part of your culture. That's not who I am. I know. I get it. But you know what? Do it anyway. That's if, of course, you want to have any shot with these younger cats. Because I am going to do what I can to get the message into their ears, exactly the message you don't want them to hear. That what you want, specifically you, the Westerner, that what you want is to have your cake and eat it too. And to have no responsibility to listen to anyone, and to have no accountability for decisions that you make and insist on the power to make. I want to tell them exactly what it is. You insist on having your cake and eating it too, and you'll turn around and tell another man, we're not even going to split this cake, half of me and half of you. Absolutely not. Because this is the one I'm going to have, and I'm going to eat yours. That's why. Now, I'm going to tell you this attitude you got is exactly what causes wars between nations. When one nation says, we're going to take this advantage from this territory of yours or this disputed territory. We're going to take the land itself or some rights therein, like the minerals or something of that nature. We're going to take it. It is ours. We're not going to reimburse you for it. You're going to give us these crops, or we'll come take these crops, but we're not going to do the labor to raise the crops successfully. Something like that. That's an attitude of war. That's the truth. If Russia says to the Ukraine, we're going to take some of the money out of your economy, and we're not going to do anything to help you increase your economy. We're taking and not giving. That's war. That's grounds for war. You understand? You were taught, trained, and socialized, consciously and subconsciously, to say and show to us exactly that which causes wars between nations. And even after somebody has shown you how to come to a peaceable agreement and a relationship, you all frown, turn your nose up, and say, I can't start with the neck rolling. And that's exactly why you got the bad deals you got. You just lucky it ain't more brothers jumping ship yet. Brothers, start holding her up and start saying, while admitting that she said those uncomplimentary things, actually downright insulting things years ago, while admitting that, hold her up today and say, this, which she's done today, as long as she means it, is exactly what y'all sisters need to be doing. Hold her up. Today's. Admit she said what she said, that's true, just so that you're not being dishonest about it. And then say, yeah, she did say that. And she's going to show if she still means that or not. She's going to show us if she's changed. But in the meantime, that attitude that she is showing us is exactly what you're going to need to do. That attitude and looking like she does. Because what Boom Shika, Bonquisha, and Sapphire have been saying is, I don't need to I don't need to look this good and act that good. You need to pick one. I hope that this message is a benefit. Thank you for listening to my long sermon. Black heart, black mind, blackout. Assalamu alaikum.